yesterday we had an event occurred outside the city limits of Burley in a small trailer park out on 183, in which there was subject killed 2 people out there, had 2 victims. And as this progressed, the police officer arrived, there was another shooting, which the shooter was killed at this point. Which there were shots fired by a concerned citizen, which had lived in the trailer park and then picked up a pistol and gone back outside, and a police officer at the same time. It appeared that the citizen had hit this subject in the leg as he was making ready to fire on the officer, which probably, I guess, accounted for breaking his concentration and sight picture at that point. The officer got out, the shot was fired in his direction. He retreated back of his vehicle, returned fire, and between the two they incapacitated the subject and stopped the shooting situation. This apparently occurred over the people that were killed, the dogs had been going over in his yard, and he made complaints about this, and evidently with pretty quick anger anyway, based on what we got, and they'd had words over the dogs. He left, he'd go over and talk to these people that had worked over the dog. He left the trailer, went back, got and retrieved the pistol, came back and killed the male subject that lived there, the owner of the dogs, then killed the dogs, and then killed this guy's wife, the lady that lived with him. And then retreated back to his trailer. When the officer arrived, he then retrieved a .30-30 rifle, got behind the tree and made preparation to fire on the officer. This is when the citizen got the pistol and fired and hit him at that point. And as soon as the officer came out, the shot was fired in his direction, and he started returning fire on the subject also. And this resolved the issue. It's a bad situation, you know. I really want to commend the police officer for his response out there. He was an early PD officer responding to help our officers to back up and got there before them. And the citizen that fired these shots did a tremendous job out there. Had he not had it gun in their presence of mind to do this, we don't know what the outcome would have been. This man did great service. And this investigation is continuing at this time, and we still don't know exactly how many times the shooter had been shot when they returned fire on him, or doing autopsies in Travis County at this time, so we haven't got our response back, reports back on those at this point. And we'll know more as that comes in. We do feel pretty certain that the civilian and the officer both hit him. Possibly there will be multiple shots that hit this subject. And there were multiple shots fired. I think he turned and fired one point at the citizen out there with that .30-30. 1 or 2, there were 3 rounds he got off in the .30-30. We don't know exactly. Part of them went toward the police officer, part of them went toward the civilian at the fireman. And we're still working all this out. I've got totally wasted probably what we wrote on this, but that's basically the situation I know. We're still trying to get the man and woman that were killed, their next of kin notified. We're making some headway in this. We have notified next of kin on the shooter. David, you want anything you want to add? Anything?
Just answer whatever questions.
We have sort of answer questions now if y'all like, or however you want to do it.
Can you tell us anything about the shooter? What was found in his trailer, or any of his background that may give us some insight on why he may have snapped off like this?
Okay. Honestly, a lot of this we don't know. He had multiple firearms in the trailer, and it had been lived in his trailer and moved from place to place. And we had a ranger that interviewed some of his relatives yesterday afternoon that said he had been acting strange and had kind of twisted a little further off center sometime back, like in the spring, and moved on. I don't think they kept real close contact with him. But what was, pushing him toward this, I honestly can't say at this point. I don't know. It'd be pure speculation of what he is.
Did he seem, you said he had multiple firearms?
Or
You said he had multiple
there
firearms
were
in his...
numerous firearms in the trailer, yes.
Did he seem like he was preparing for anything, or was he a gun enthusiast, or?
He was, of course, I don't know his background well enough to know about the gun enthusiast. He was prepared for any kind of situation, yes. I think he was.
Sheriff, in regards to the citizen shooter, obviously he acted responsibly. Did he act legally?
You know, the best that I can tell at this point, of course, the investigation is still continuing. Yes, I believe he acted under the color of the law. You know,
Did he have concealed carry or anything like that?
Pardon?
Did he have concealed carry or
Not
something?
that I know of. No, I don't think he did, as a matter of fact. In fact, he retrieved this gun from his trailer, which was his residence, and used it to defend himself and the officer.
So he would not have to have a concealed carry?
No, he's not going to come under the heading of need to conceal handgun for him at this point.
Chief Mercer, is this considered a good shooting?
Yes.
This is, I guess, the Ranger's actually doing, you know, the shooting investigation per se. We assisted him out there. And everything I've seen on this is a clean shooting. It was handled commendably by the officer. I don't think he had an option. And, you know, he was under fire when he arrived, and he handled himself very well.
How's the officer doing today after the shooting?
He's good. He slept last night and he's doing okay today. He's just going to spend time with family today. So.
Can you tell us the time frame, like how long the whole incident took? Because it seems it went really fast.
Really quick.
It probably started before we got the call on it, but the call went out around 1:30, and I felt like probably the man and woman and the dog sort of been killed at this point. And the officer responded and arrived just shortly thereafter.
So obviously the people were killed with handguns.
Yes. that
You
is
know what
correct.
the caliber was?
It appeared to have been a 9mm.
Can you, had this been going on, the warnings
They had-
from the, like, days previous, or was this a one-day thing?
They had worked previously. How far back it tracks back, I don't know. I know the day before yesterday, they had worked over the dog in his yard also.
Was Stephen under fire as he was getting out of the car, or what was the actual scenario?
Looks like he pulled up, was fixing to get out of the car. He spotted the suspect and was able to retreat to the back of his car and start taking up a position before the shots came to him.
He returned fire with an assault rifle?
Yes.
Was he able to retrieve that rifle as he was getting out of his car, or was
Yes.
it in his trunk, or?
No, it's mounted in the cab or in the front seat with him. When he came out, it came out with him.
He had, you know, knowledge that he was responding to a shooting situation and didn't actually know what he had. I think most of us, when we got that call, we weren't certain what we were supposed to respond to. We went out there also.
When you guys obviously trained to respond to something like this, being fired upon, maybe as you approach a scene, correct? I mean, you
Yes.
guys-
We train for these scenarios. Of course, you can't cover all of them, and you always wish for more training, but we have in the past trained for this type of scenario. And this officer in particular, at that time, the sheriff's officer not only took part in that, and he's been through some additional training.
Yes, he's been through several trainings that cover this type of situation. His response and actions were textbook.
I just feel like, in a nutshell, the officer to be commended for his actions, and the citizens here also to be commended for his actions. Both of them acted commendably, I think.
Did the officer and the citizen get to have words? Did they meet each other, or did you know about that?
Not that I know of,
Not at
not at
this
this
time.
point they haven't, I don't think.
Maybe at a later date, but at the time, the officer was removed from the scene, brought back to the office.
Obviously, there is, anytime an officer is involved in a shooting, I guess there'll be an investigation into that shooting, or
Absolutely.
how does that?
All goes with the ranger's investigation, and then it'll eventually go to grand jury clearing and everything.
Does that also go for the citizen shooter?
I'm sorry?
Does that also go for the citizen shooter?
That's,
I feel like this is probably the full grand jury also. This is just standard procedure. I just feel like all the steps need to be followed. I don't think either one of them got anything to worry about. They go back, but
I guess y'all confiscated all the weapons from his.
we have
his
gathered a
suspects?
considerable amount of evidence from his trailer at this time. We haven't processed all of it yet. And I don't actually have an account of what all we did take out there at this point. We've got evidence like the full stuff.
Do you know if he had any things he was not supposed to, any illegal weapons or anything like that?
I didn't see any type of full automatic type weapons or anything would be prohibited by law, no.
And does he have a record of some sort or anything like that?
I've not found any criminal history at all.
no criminal history.
I think the number of firearms I heard earlier alluded to was 5 or 6. Is that still?
Pardon?
5 or 6 firearms? Is that the?
There was probably in that neighborhood, yes, and I have to count off again to be sure.
All types, I mean.
And part of these were in his residence, which he's entitled to. This is his residence too. And I think on that, I guess on firearm, he had outside, he got pistol. He pistoled the shotgun, the rifle and pistol what came in play.
Was the couple I read, they were from out of town, had been staying there for a couple of months? Were they here working, or they were a retired couple, do you know?
I think they worked, what I received yesterday, basically they worked for the owner of the trailer park, I believe, kind of part-time. He also runs Peach Orchard and the stable trailer setup also. So I think they had worked for him for a short time.
Did the citizen shooter know them personally, or
I'm sorry.
do you know if the citizen shooter knew the victims personally?
He had met all of them, yes. He had been there sometime too, and it's just a small trailer park, and most of these people have been there for a fairly lengthy amount of time to contact the neighbors, and they've talked with all of them at one point or another.
It says Connor fired upon the witness shooter and then Sergeant Means. Do you know if there were words between the witness shooter and Connor at all?
The victim shooters? I'm sorry, I wasn't.
I'm sorry, the witness shooter and Connor, do you know if there was an exchange there? Did they speak?
No, not at that point probably. I think when he got the gun, the shooting had already started. And he was aware of a situation that he could see some blaze on the ground, and I'm not sure he knew the full impact of what took place at that point.
I guess he heard the gunshots first and then reacted.
Sure. These are all in, fairly close proximity, and of course trailers are not so insulated that you don't hear much what's going on around them, so.
Any, as far as other people living around that area, were there any kids around that saw what happened?
Didn't see any kids at all. There was, of course, the citizen shooter, and there were 2 other witnesses that lived in the trailer park, both male and adults, so they're by themselves.
And they also saw what happened?
They heard a lot of it. They didn't particularly see what went on. They saw bodies that were shots. They knew something was going on. One of them was the one that called 911.
They were allowed to have pets at this trailer residence, correct? Where they lived?
As far as we know, pets.
Pets were allowed.
Yes, or the only word, yes. These people had 2 pets, a small dog, a poodle type, and a bigger, I guess call them a collie line, I guess, a long, medium-sized dog, mid-sized dog. I can't picture the poodle or anything being aggressive enough to set him off to do this, but I can't understand this guy's mental state anyway. Probably would.
When's the last time you had a officer fired upon in this area? It's been a while?
years, I believe.
Yeah.
Bowie?
Bowie Circle, maybe.
Bowie Circle.
Then you may have been the last one. We've been to some other incidents where people have shot themselves as officers came to the door. I think the last shooting when an officer was fired, on the best of my knowledge right now, I think that was a grain of salt on Bowie Circle. And Brownwood PD officer was fired on at that time. And he returned.